Hello, everyone. This is David. I'm an ambassador for emotional wellness. I'm changing the name of it from mental illness because there's a large stigma behind mental illness. Just the word mental, the word crazy, the word normal. There is no such thing as normal because all things being equal, no two humans are alike. So there is no such thing as normal with that. And as far as mental, what happens is to a person's body happens to all of us. Whenever there is an emotional crisis in our life, we detached from ourselves. It's like we're looking down on ourselves. We can see what's going on, but we can't control what's going on. Because when you take choice out of the options that a person has, they will choose not to be there, not to be a part of it. Physically, they can be a part of it. Mentally, they don't have to. But once you detached from yourself emotionally, it takes quite a bit of effort to reattach. Unlike a lizard or a gecko, something loses its tail, they can regrow it. You can't regrow your emotions, but you have to physically reattach yourself back to that point. The reason why I'm coming and talking to you about this is more about my life story, what I've come to know. Now, as a schizophrenia, before I became emotionally attached again, I was abused. But like any person that's abused, they abuse too. I abused my younger brother and sister to the point I wish I could never have to relive that. But I do over and over, and I regret it over and over. But regret what I did is not the same as saying that I condone what happened to me. You see, I was abused too. I didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to be an abuser. I had to be taught. And it was taught to me by saying, this is what happens in a family. This is what a family does for each other. This is how we learn. You think some stranger's going to teach you this? No, you got to learn this on your own. So I was taught to abuse. And whenever the situation come up to where I was detached, I abused. And as I abused, I could see what was happening. I just couldn't control it. I just let you know, I have no compulsion to abuse anybody. Matter of fact, I'm so repulsed from it till I can't even stand the thought of killing a fly or killing a cockroach. That's just not me. I don't like to harm anything in life. I hate the idea of sneezing and coughing, thinking about all those germs and viruses that I may be killing by doing that. That really bothers me. It bothers me to the point where I take and I relive my moments in life. And I'm going to relive to you some history about my family. And I'm going to try to do this without giving too much information about who I am or where I am or anything like that, because that doesn't matter. It's about the lessons that you can learn. It used to be a young cartoon show when I was younger that came out about this guy young boy that wanted to experience all these different things in life And in the cartoon, he was transported to do this, and transported to do that. And each time he found the good and the bad with all of that. And each time he called for the guy that transported him to this job or that job to help him out of there. I think it was the final saying was, "Oh, Mr. Peabody, please help me," and take him out of there. Anyway, I learned that from that program that there's multiple layers into every person's identity of who they are. My multiple identity, and it's part of me establishing multiple personality disorder, is that the abuse did not start from just my older sibling. The abuse started not with just all my siblings like to say it was from my father, but it wasn't from my father. My father was abused too, but he's more discriminated against than he was abused. I'll get into that another time. But it was on my mother's side where the abuse started. And it started way before she ever got married, way before all that. And I checked the records about this history I'm about to get to you. And isn't this factual? This actually happened. At the time, on my mother's side, everybody kind of lived within a proximity of each other, separate but proximity. My mother's mother brought up several girls within the family. And she didn't have any boys, but they were all girls. And my mother was the oldest of them. And though just a few years older than each one in succession, the youngest being one, and there was four girls altogether. The youngest, about like quite a few years younger than my mother. My mother was the oldest one. But something happened in my mother's younger years, and I found out that she was in either the third grade or fourth grade when this happened. And you have to remember, these are one room schoolhouses that they were in. Nothing like the schools today. And she would flirt with a boy, openly flirt with all the boys around. She liked the attention that she would get, but she didn't know it. But one of the attentions she got was from a pedophile who winded up raping her. And again, I think she was either in third grade or fourth grade, according to one room schoolhouse. And this was there. It's just that, from what I understand, she didn't come home one afternoon from school like she was supposed to. And when she did, my grandmother and great grandmother at the time found out about it. Well, they knew who did it, or at least they suspected. But they got my mother to say who had raped her. Well, they went, and my grandmother and great grandmother got together with some friends of theirs, male friends, and they rounded this guy up. And when they rounded this guy up, they took my mother with them to watch him being lynched, then hung and killed. Yes. Not only did she get raped that day, but the guy that raped her, they thought it would be a nice revenge and reward to see what happens to all these guys that try to harm young girls. Well, this imprinted on her. And these are factual things, and I found this out from my mother's schoolmate that was in the same grade as her that witnessed this being this witnessed the telling of it from her mother to her about all these things that happened to this young guy. He was lynched and killed, and my mother had to watch it. My grandmother had to move from the state because she had initiated my great grandmother. Since she was the great grandmother to my mother, or grandmother to my mother, my great grandmother, she just went and she went back to work where she was at. She was already living in government subsidized housing and stuff like that. But this long before she met my father. She had been abused, and that's where she learned. But she also learned that there was consequences to guys paying special attention to her. But she liked it. She liked that. She became hooked on the sensual and sexual part of it from the age that she was either in third or fourth grade on up, which took her to marrying the first man in her life that he came across. And he just wanted a simple life. He didn't want any type of excitement. He was come from a pretty good sized family, kind of large, and he just wanted a simple life. Where my mother had already gotten used to the excitement and everything. She wanted that excitement. And when she couldn't get it from him and he couldn't please her the way that she wanted, she looked for it other ways. And that's where she met my father at a nightclub, and they hooked up and uh, eventually got back to her first husband about it and separation. At the time, my mother was pregnant again. And whoever child that was, her original husband did not claim it because he says that she was cheating on him, and my father at the time, soon to be father at the time, did claim her, so she become unclaimed. But between the birth of her first child and the next younger child, which was a male and then a female, was about 8 years. And you got to remember, my mother wanted the excitement, and she started the abuse then onto her son, my older brother at the time. I mean, it was claimed many times by my great grandmother and by other people and her own sisters that my mother and brother shared the same bed multiple times, multiple nights before she met my father, before my father and her got married. And the reason why they couldn't get married because he was in service and he'd already knew about her sketchy past and he didn't want anything to do with parts of that. But he did feel an obligation when she got pregnant. And the second time, not the first time, because the first time she was carrying a child that no father wanted to claim. But the next one, my father knew was his. And the abuse just kept on going. And the words came from my mother to my oldest brother was, this is what families do. This is how you learn about these things. You have to teach them. So he taught his next youngest sister on and on. Well, my father was married to her, and the first time that he saw this was going on, he beat my mother. Yes, it's on record that he beat her and kicked her out of the house. Why? Because it went on a police record that he did this. He got arrested, spent 6 months in jail for beating her, but then they got back together. And the propagation of this, what family does, has already been passed down from one sibling to the next, from mother to son, from son to his younger sister, then to his younger sister, and finally to his youngest brother, on down, all the way down, and each one of them felt the guilt and remorse of abuse, which they did themselves. They abused others. My oldest sister many times used her body to get her way with me, to get me to do things for her that I wouldn't normally have done. And then all the time telling me, I wish you were never born. Same thing with my mother telling me that. Propagation of abuse happens over and over in people's lives. It's like a prison or a psychiatric ward that has a revolving door. It seems like the same people wind up there over and over and over. I understand why my oldest sister, just one that was by my father, always ran away, didn't want to have nothing to do with the family. I understand it now. She kept on looking for somebody to take care of her. She did. She found somebody that was abusive to her. But physical abuse ain't nothing compared to mental abuse. And that's what she was getting from my oldest sister and oldest brother was pure mental abuse. She got blamed for every little thing. And my oldest brother hated me because all of a sudden I would do things and my father would find favor in the things that I would do. Only because I would do them out of curiosity, like learning to play the guitar. Why is it that I got to pick up this guitar and learn to play it? You got to remember though, I come close to getting my ass whooped because my father looked at me and said, if you can't pick up that guitar and play something on it, I'm going to whoop your ass. And I picked it up and I played something. It showed him that I had a willingness to learn and not abuse that guitar. Where my brother didn't want to learn the guitar, he just wanted to abuse it. Anyway, that's where the propagation of abuse started. Was from where my mother would flirt with the old boys in the classroom. One of the fellows, I guess, worked in the close to the school, called what she was doing and raped her. Then she had to go and watch him get lynched and killed right before her eyes, which made my grandmother had to leave the state. My great grandmother had to live in solitude for the rest of her life. I just know that there's a lot of sadness and stuff happen, all because of one promiscuous little girl that did not know any better. That started this propagation of abuse from one person to another. I wish I could go back and undo what I've done to my own family members. I can't do that. I cannot apologize. I cannot cover it up. I've done it. I wish I never would have, but I did. Just know that I have to live with that now for the rest of my life and without a family because of that. So I'm doing without. And regardless of what you may think, I'm not doing it to clear my conscience and bring things to the forefront so that it will hurt you. I'm doing this because there's many, many others like myself out there that needs help. And if my story can help them out just one iota, just one person, then I can feel good about myself. Regardless I hear about it or not, it doesn't make any difference. I just want you to know that I'm better as long as I stay aware of all the abuse that I've done and all the abuse that was done to me and where it all started. This is David, an ambassador for emotional wellness / schizophrenia, saying good day and good night.